That's what faith is for. When I see a flood, you see a promise. When I see a grave, you see a door. And when I'm at my end, you see where the future starts. I don't know how you make a way, but I know you will. I don't know how you make a way, but I know you will. You've been good on every promise, from Eden to Zion, through every day, and out of that grave. I don't know how you make a way, but I know you will. So when the world's on fire, it's not like you don't have a plan. And when the earth gives way on this rock, your church will stand. And nothing has ever once surprised you, and nothing has ever made you flinch. And when it all shakes out, the gates of hell don't stand a chance. I don't know how you make a way, but I know you will. I don't know how you make a way, but I know you will. You've been good on every promise, from Eden to Zion, through every dead end, and out of that grave. I don't know how you make a way, but I know you will. You will, you will. You pulled my heart from Egypt. You carved a road through seas, from all I chased to endless praise. The story ends in you. And when we cross that Jordan, we look back on where we've been, from all I chased to endless praise. The story ends in you. I don't know how you make a way, but I know you will. I don't know how you make a way, but I know you will. You've been good on every promise, from Eden to Zion, through every dead end, and out of that grave. I don't know how you make a way, but I know you will. I know you will. I know you will. I know you will.
Well, this is a super cool treat, guys. Good to have you, Joel, Dylan, and Ben. Hey, how have you guys been?
Jimmy, we've been good. I wish I could shake your hand, because that's what we always normally do at this point in the
We
conversation.
do.
So, virtual handshake.
It's true. This might be the first cafe where we haven't shook hands right at the
I know.
beginning of the
I know.
video.
We're going to make up for it on the next one. Everyone look out for a double handshake.
Well, I know you guys have been working hard, and even through all of the the last year and all the lockdown, you guys were writing and creating music, and man, we're just super excited. And this is the first song that we heard from this batch of songs, a song called Know You Will, which is just incredible. But I'd love to hear you guys talk about just the writing of it. Joel, maybe I'll start with you and just give us a little bit of like what was driving this lyric. It's just so amazing in a lot of ways. It's so personal, and and parts of it are so profound. But talk a little bit about just the starting of the song, how you guys got going on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think to answer the first part of that question, I mean, I think for me, the whole this whole season of being united, being separated by oceans, and then all of us kind of being separated for a long period of time, I think it was all I knew to do was to kind of to basically to write, just to try and write as much as possible. And I feel like writing has always been an escape in many ways, but also just quite therapeutic in kind of just rationalizing or reckoning, or just kind of trying to figure out how to deal with life. And I think the approach was basically, I spend most of our time when life is normal wishing I had more time to be able to kind of write. So with all this time not to be able to do all of the normal things, just trying to dive into that and just writing as much as possible. And I found just a lot of the songs I was writing all kind of came back to this really central sentiment that I think is summed up in this song, which was kind of, it's a culmination of a lot of stuff. And Dylan and I had been working on a ton of music, and he'd left for the day here. We have a studio here. It's just us because everyone else at this point was in Australia. And the other thing that happened during COVID was, I fell in love with golf. And needed a new hobby, and so that became it. And so everyone had left for the day, and I decided I might just work on my golf game just before I went home, and had an accident with a golf ball and a sprinkler in the studio. And next thing you know, I was frantically calling Dylan Thomas, because that's what you do when you're in trouble. First, you call upon the Lord. If the Lord doesn't answer immediately, you call Dylan Thomas. I'll give you his number later. But I'm like, Dylan, I don't know how to do that. Anyway, we flooded the entire studio. So Dylan rocked up before the fire department did.
Wow.
We ended up kind of then having to wait a few hours for Serve Pro to turn up. And so we had a few hours to kill. I said, well, we might as well make the most of it. Maybe there's a song we're meant to write. And Dylan started playing the piano. And within about 5 minutes, I was singing basically what the chorus is. That hook, I don't know how you make a way, but I know you will. I don't think it had anything to do with the flood, although the flood has made the song and a few other things. But it was just one of those, it was actually something that just came so organically. You're working so hard, digging into so many songs, but that just kind of, it felt like it wanted to sing itself. And in many ways, as simple as it is, it really has summed up so much of, I think, one, how personally I've felt like we've to navigate this season, but also beyond that, I think it's a really important confession for the church right now. And to me, the verses, the story of the song, it's really about the journey of faith, what faith looks like, and I don't think faith is necessarily being certain that God is just going to make everything great all the time, that everything's good. I think that's kind of a misnomer. I think the promises of God, which we love to sing about, sometimes as Christians we forget that all those promises come with trials and persecution and sometimes all kinds of different battles. So I think that's kind of really the sentiment of the song, is kind of like the key anchor lyric really at the beginning was just this thought that, like, hey, God's not surprised by this. Like, sometimes we're all freaking out, the world's freaking out, the church is freaking out, but God's not surprised, like, at these events. He's constantly moving and using them to kind of, I think, to like see the church kind of become what it's supposed to be. And so at the end of the day, this is a song for the church. And and I think I'm pretty excited about it, to be honest, singing it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I knew there was a story just from you guys talking before the video. Sorry, you guys got together to write it. That's really funny. But it does feel like, Dylan, speak to that a little bit. It does feel like, obviously, where the church is. We've been through a range of, kind of emotions and struggles in the last year, triumphs in some ways. And yet through it all, God's been incredibly faithful. He's still working. And really that's what this song is saying, is like, I don't know how you'll make a way, but I know you will.
Yeah. There's something about, us confessing things. And I think this lyric, to Joel's point, is one of those things that, when he sung it just made so much sense, because it's just so true to this feeling and the season of life that everyone has lived through, this season of life of this, like, it's unknown. Like I was chatting with some of my friends the other day about, at the start of COVID, like I would literally wipe, our groceries down with a Clorox wipe, because we just didn't know what was going on. And I think to have a lyric that feels like we can sing it and kind of speak into this season of like, we still don't know what's going on. Like we have a vaccine that's rolling out and things are starting to kind of make a bit more sense, but it's still, I think COVID was such an amazing kind of thing to remind us that, life's fragile and God truly, truly has us in his hands. And I think to have a lyric, when Jolie sung it, when we were writing it, it felt so true to this season of life, where actually God is reigning supreme and he knows what's going to happen. He has the other page of the book written out, and just having that trust and having something to sing over this season felt it felt like a bit of a gift when that lyric dropped, honestly. And I know Jolie's been speaking about that lyric being something that was in his heart and was kind of taking place in his spirit. But for us to be able to sing it on this side feels like a gift.
Felt like a natural progression from Waymaker, you know. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Ben, what I love about this lyric too is it's got that personal element to it, but then, that second verse, it becomes something that as a church, like, we proclaim this together.
Right.
And man, talk about that second verse, because man, the lyric there, I know when we first heard it, we were commenting around, just some of the staff, and everybody was talking about, man, that second verse just slays me. But talk a little bit about just those two sides, the personal side, but yet also the church and the corporate side.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we kind of all those get set up in that first verse. Like, I was thinking there about the lyric, and the guys were kind of speaking into it, and it makes no sense, but you say that's what faith is for. And I feel like when faith is really in being exercised, it can't be faith if it's not a little bit frightening. You think of that like in Indiana Jones, where he jumps not knowing if he's going to land. And I feel like that's a good the leap of faith. Like, that's actually what faith is. It's not actually knowing what's going on, not knowing what's coming next, and still in the middle of the darkness of the complete unknown, having a trust in God. I feel like everyone's felt like that in this last year or two in some way or another. And so for us, it was kind of establishing that it's like, yeah, this might actually be how we're all feeling, but God's done it before. He's faithful. He'll do it again. And then in that second verse, bringing everyone together and reminding us, yes, it feels like everything's shaking. And a lot of it's good, like God's shaking things up, and he's doing good things. And but in the middle of that, it's, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be testing. It's going to feel uncomfortable. But again, that's what faith is for. It's trusting God in the middle of whatever's going on, that he has a good idea of what he's going to do, and he's got a plan, and it's going to be all right. So I guess that for us was kind of what it was, and bringing it back to foundations. When it all gives way on something like that, on this rock, your church will stand. When it all shakes out. When it all shakes out. That's right. That's better.
Yeah. Wow. Well, guys, it's such an incredible song. Thank you guys so much for talking about it, for joining us today. And yeah, Joel, man, I'm really looking forward to seeing you in person, where I can shake all of your hands.
Oh yeah, no, big group hug. It's going to be amazing. Love you guys.
Thanks, guys.
I don't know how you make a way.